to the Nerdiverse. Go ahead, sit and listen to the masters, the old heads, talk about what you love the most. Video games, comics, movies, and everything you need to maintain your week. Got the knowledge that's straight out the ether. Gonna need a drink and I'll just take a seat to expand your mind and listen to the speaker. Mike and the squad's gonna give you what you need. Please send in a question, come and get some answers, learn a couple lessons from the masters with the special guests. We got the Green Lanterns glowing on their chest. Yes, please sit back and relax, cause we're gonna hit you with some stone cold facts. And allow me to be the very first to welcome you to the masters of the Nerdiverse. And here we are. Welcome back, Nerdiverse, as we are here with another episode, another installment of MOTN lore, where you, the Nerdiverse, chooses an object of lore, and this esteemed Algonquin group of infinites decide where it lands in the grand scheme of things. I'm, of course, your scientific miscalculation, Mike G, and with me is my amazing panel of awesomeness. Let's go around the room real quick with a man we simply call Wash. How are you doing?
Yo, what up?
What's up, man? How you living?
Glad to be here. I'm living well, man. Came in a little hot according to the value, Mike. So hopefully I didn't just blast everybody out. But yeah, man, everything's good. You know, looking forward to talking a little science. Everybody
Weird
should have a whole science project.
Ooh. What you know about that, Brian? What you know about that song?
Weird science?
Yeah.
I mean, we did a podcast on the thing. So, you know, yeah. That was in there, right?
You already know.
Thanks.
Speaking of weird science, speaking of awesome science, the scientistness known as Tootie Odin, it's Toots. What's going on, Toots?
What's up? You were right the first time. I'm pretty weird.
Weird and unusual.
Okay with
as Lady Aditz would say. The strange and unusual. Are you ready to talk science?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Always.
Guys, we're talking about The Fly. We're talking about one of the most weirdest, I would say, freaking, what's the word I'm looking for? Franchises to ever be. You know what I mean? But from the old 50s version to David Cronenberg to the remake, there's a lot that we can cover with this funny little machine known as the Teleportation Pod. So I'm really willing and able to hear you guys' thoughts and ideals as we dive into this subject. Yes, Wash.
When you say remake, like you mean 86, right?
Yeah.
There isn't the one that came out. All right. I thought, I didn't know for a second. I thought you were about to say, yeah, 2009.
2009.
Did you see it? I was like, no, I didn't. So, all right. I just wanted to make sure.
Starring Alexander Skarsgård for some reason, Doug.
You know, or the dude, Bill Skarsgård, the dude who played the Crow.
Yeah, I just watched The Crow. That's a whole other podcast. I just watched that
other
remake.
podcast,
but
different podcast.
But yeah, I guess before we dive into this discussion about the teleportation pod, I always like to ask around the room, what's everyone's first experience with The Fly? Did you first watch the old 50s one as a kid? Was your experience through the Cronenberg remake? I'm curious to see everybody's history with this film series.
I like how you just keep calling the 86 the remake, even though, you know, anyone listening to this pod is like 1951.
It's important.
I don't watch movies from then, but it is. I get it. To your point, this was a VHS type movie that my mom brought home one day, and, you know, we watched it, and I was like, I don't know, 10, 11, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. And even at that young age, I understood what was going on as far as the fly, the pod, the science. And it was like, yeah, can that happen? I hope not. Well, if it can, I just hope it's not a fly. You know what I mean?
I mean, there's a lot of things it could be, and we'll break that down. But yeah, that's a pretty horrible fate, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, just whatever you go through this. So that's cool that your mom was Your mom's kind of like my mom. Bring home a horror movie and see what's going on. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
that was right back when VHSs were just hitting like at home, and you could bring your movies home, and yeah, it was a thing, man. So the pre-blockbuster.
The pre-blockbuster. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. And Toots, what was your experience with The Fly? Is this something that was on in the Odin home, or is this something you're just now getting into?
Did you just call it Bachbluster?
Did I say
I think it came out wrong, but
I heard Bachbluster. Yeah.
I am
it could happen.
still getting over things? Okay, you're lucky. We in a
Make it a Bachbluster night.
no. We used to have Blackbuster in the hood. We used to have it was
Wow.
called Blackbuster, and it's so nothing but black
Wow.
exploitation movies. You,
Is it still there?
yes, it's on. It's still on Western. That's where.
That's
Shout outs to
sweet.
Bradley. Me and Bradley would. They used to call me the Inquisitor because I knew what all the movies were about, and they would just point at a movie and say, "Mike, what's that one about?" And I would have to explain the plot to the movie, and we would go to Blackbuster to rent kung fu movies. Yeah, good times. Very ghetto.
Does sound fun, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, don't go there. All right. Well, I guess my first experience was also with my mom, actually. Watched it at home with her. It must have been maybe 4 or 5. And I remember it not necessarily scaring me, more grossing me out. I think the only time it really truly scared me is when pieces of him started to fall off. I assume we'll get there for those who haven't seen the movie. And if you haven't, come on.
To that.
My first time watching the Vincent Price one, I was actually a little bit older. I must have been 10 or 11. And that was at a youth girls' sleepover, and it was a Vincent Price night. So we were watching all kinds of old timey horror movies. And that was definitely one of them. Also, fun fact, The Fly, the Jeff Goldblum one, was one of the very first movies that I can remember, like by immediate memories, that I saw one of my very first sex scenes. And it was, I guess, it
Ah.
would have been considered a sex scene for me, for that young and that innocent. Didn't know what it was. I just remember like, this is weird. And I till this day they make me uncomfortable. So, but yeah, for sure, it was definitely one of the very first movies that I ever seen a doing it scene in.
A
So,
doing it
yay,
scene.
fun fact, me.
Fun fact:
Yay.
the more you know with the rainbow, and at the end it's a fly face. Dun 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 fly.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying? It's interesting that it was like our parents that introduced us to these weird film because it was funny. You both, it was your mother. For me, it was my father that introduced me to this film because my dad, shout out to Mike Prime, always has this penchant to make scary movies funny. He would always bring humor to it, make it goofy. So when we watched this, he would go, help me, like The Fly in the 50s version. So I had that in my head the entire time. I'm watching this poor man fall apart, you know, atom by atom. So it was never scary. You know what I mean? It was always funny. And one thing I would love is my dad would scare me as a kid. Funny enough, he would jump. You know how the fly would jump? You know what I mean? Like Jeff Goldblum would jump off stuff in this movie, like buildings and stuff. My dad would do the fly jump at me when I would come home from school. So I would come through the door, and he would be waiting on the other side and go, ha, and do the fly jump, specifically the fly jump. And I would go, oh no, and I would run away and drop my books and drop my ham sandwich and run to my mom who would protect me. So this movie has a special place in my heart as my dad tormenting me and making me the horror kid I am today. So shout outs Mike Prime, shout outs to Fly. I'm going to probably get a lot of member berries about this movie. Um, that being said, you ready to dive into this conversation, everybody?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do
Go.
it. Let's go. So I have a little bit
Also,
of
may
a
I add, The Simpsons kind of ruined The Fly,
yeah,
but ruined it in the best way possible. So,
as they are to
yeah,
do.
shout out to The Simpsons, Treehouse of Horror.
You want to get
All
sued?
right, sorry.
No, that was a good call out. Amazing call out. I have a bit of a theme with this lore. I'm having a little bit of fun. So I'd like to open our conversation with a simple invitation. Would you have entertained Brundle in going to check out his machine that was going to change the world?
Tootie, you can take that.
Absolutely. I
Absolutely.
would have played it exactly the way Ronnie played it. I don't think I would have changed a thing up until the tragic end. unfortunately. That curiosity of that that introduction alone is enough to be intrigued. And of course his charisma, he's charming, blah blah blah, all of it. He's all of it. Um Now, to go into how obsessive he becomes with it is a different story. By then it might be too late. By then you might be balls deep in love. So, eesh. It's a scary thought, but honestly, I'm not sure how much I would have changed action wise.
Yeah, Ronnie kind of played it straight, right? Like she didn't. That's one thing I like. I like the realism of this movie because she really was kind of his rock through the whole thing. Even when she left
Yeah.
him because he was tripping and he knew he was tripping, but he was panicking at the same time. He saw what was going down and he started to panic. So that caused him. I'm shooting him a little bit of bail because I probably would have started freaking out too if my ear fell off or some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I'm probably gonna act a little erratic. But I love that you mentioned that the beginning of this movie is one of the most pitch perfect sells of all time because she didn't know him from Adam. And come on, Jeff Goldblum was one of the most electrifying actors, one of the most charismatic actors of all time. So he literally said what he needed to say, not only to court her, but also to have anyone kind of hear him out for his amazing discovery. Wash, would you have joined
No,
joined
I
him?
would have called BS, man.
You
You
would have
know,
called BS?
like hey, everybody's got a project, everybody's got funding, everybody's got, the next big thing, and we're at a party, some dude comes walking up, yeah, man, I got teleport, I got the next revolutionary science technology breakthrough. I'm gonna be like, nah, BS. You want to check it out before you call BS? I'm gonna be like, nah, BS, because I just don't believe you.
Eh,
A, you should probably be working on it. You know what I mean? If it's that, you should probably not be at this party right now. But that's just me. So no, I probably wouldn't have went and checked it out as an invitation.
Hey, bro, I got this new thing that's going to change the world. It's called Bitcoin. All I need is like $10,000, bro. And we can get this
I mean,
Bitcoin
if you
cracking.
told me that at a bar back in 2010, I was like, you're nuts. Or 2011, I was like, yeah, you're nuts. By 2014, I was like, oh, you know what? There may be something to it.
Hey,
Maybe. I
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
remember her initial motivation was to get a good
to
story.
get the
Yeah.
scoop.
Her initial
Yeah.
motivation was to get the scoop to make it big as a journalist.
And the
So it
party
her
was a science party. You know what I mean? There were
right,
science people there.
It's a
So she
dead
wasn't
man's
sitting
right.
back doing
party.
her job. So, yeah.
Who can ask for more? Sorry. You guys made me think of Dead Man's Party. It was. It was like a conference, right? It was like a convention. And
Uh,
something like that. Like it was like a little
A
shindig
convention with alcohol and wine,
and
sure.
alcohol and booze, and I love the part where she's like, "Oh, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna take this right back to the Daily Bugle." He's like, "No, you're not. What are you talking about? No, you're not. You're not taking any of this back. I would never tell this to a reporter. You just told this to a reporter. No, that's not what I meant." And he had to fight tooth and nail to be like, "Just see this through the entire experiment, then I'll let you publish it. But don't do it now. It's too premature. Things need to be tested. Whoop de whoop." So, like you said, I like her moxie. She gives off like Lois Lane vibes to me, like a dark version of Superman. You know what I mean? Like she's full of gumption and she's full of like get 'em. But like you said too, she slowly falls in love with this guy, and it's kind of like real life. You don't know somebody until you know them, and now you're in love with, let's say, a psychopath or a narcissist. In this case, you're in love with a fly, and you're screwed because you're dancing with a lizard. You know what I mean?
Get out.
You can't, Doug. You're in love, bro.
Get out.
You're in love, bro. You can't.
Get
You got to. You got to see it through.
get out.
And you're
Anyway.
pregnant. Out of here. Crazy stuff, dude. Oh man. On to the next slide.
Mike, would you have went to the party?
Me? Hell yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, they,
I'm the guy. I'm telling
uh,
you, I'm the guy who pokes the blob with the stick and then
all
insta
right.
dies. You know what I'm saying? I'm the dude who puts on the Green Lantern. You know what I'm saying? And my buddy, if Bradley told me, Mike, I found an angel. I have it tied up in my backyard. I would take a hit off the blunt and go check it out. You know what I'm saying?
That I do.
You know? Now, if he told me that he has a fully functional Iron Man suit, I would call BS, but I'll be right there to check it out. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got no Iron Man suit, bro. You tripping. Oh, when can I come over? I need to see
Bradley's
it.
trustworthy, though. I would believe Bradley
No,
too.
Bradley wouldn't lie about having an angel,
That's what I'm saying.
like an actual
Yeah,
beat up, tied
that's what
up
I'm
angel in
saying.
his garage. He probably would. You know what I'm saying?
Like Bradley would have done DNA tests and shit for it just to
Yeah,
know for sure.
just to
He's,
make
you know
sure
what I
it was
mean? He ain't
angelic.
wrong.
Yeah,
Bradley will never be wrong.
I've never seen him wrong.
Yes, I trust that.
That's a fun fact. Bradley's never been wrong in my whole life of knowing him. It's weird. Speaking of things that were wrong, the miscalculation, dude, the mistake that's a through line to this entire series is the miscalculation. It happened in the Fly one. It happened in the Fly remake. It didn't happen in the Fly 2, but we'll talk about the Fly 2 because I love the Fly 2. But it's the idea that it's not even a mistake. It's really just him overlooking something. Like, who would have thought that anything could have went into the transporter pod with him? He didn't take that precaution. He didn't think to take that precaution, and it cost him his life in the most horrific way possible. What are you guys' thoughts on just science and how delicate it is, how easy it is to create a Skynet, how easy it is to accidentally create the T virus, you know, or in this case, create Brundlefly?
Well,
Brian, you go.
yeah, I mean, as I said, I think everyone should have a science experiment. You know what I mean? So, for my purposes, I'd probably be out here, doing experiments on midi-chlorians that don't exist in our bodies. But everybody's got to have their thing. So, as we talked about with Jurassic Park, it comes back to Bartok Industries and them putting the money down and going, you know what? Here's a scientist, here's some technology. I think we can make some advances with said technology. Let's see what happens. And then shenanigans ensue. Now, yes, it's an oversight on Brundle's part to, not, not. Now that you think about it, his apartment was pretty dirty,
It was
right? To
gross.
have a
It was
clean,
not a
have a
scientific
clean
area.
facility like that, it's
No.
like, man, you probably should have thought about that end of it a tad bit more,
Yeah.
but he didn't. So, yeah, oversight, misstep, definitely a forgotten, crucial part of this
Very
entire
crucial part.
process.
Jeez. What are your thoughts, Toots?
I think scientists, when they go into projects like this, especially ambitious ones like this, go into it prepared, sort of, to understand that there's risks involved no matter what. Um, that's why most of science is trial and error. 98% of science is trial and error until you get the right thing. Like everything is stupid until it makes sense. On a secular level. So yeah, I can't imagine as a scientist and a genius, mind you, given the proof in his apartment. Scientists don't have time to clean. They don't have time. They have their brains are a reflection. It reflects on the outside. So as much as this is going on here, that's how much is going on in his kitchen and in his living room and his bathroom, etc. So it's all reflective. It's all this idea that I am 1,010% involved in this project and nothing but this project, which is interesting to me because the broad gets in the way. You know what I mean? She does kind of get in the way,
Yeah.
but it still doesn't completely make him lose his focus. In fact, it drives him even more to get this done and rush it. I mean, how many times did he blow up monkeys, before he
I
actually
was just gonna
was
say that.
able to succeed? So that didn't scare him though. So it's not like he didn't understand the risks. He was still playing 4D chess. He may not have accounted for anything going into the chamber, be it a fly, be it a speck of flue dust, be it whatever. But those risks were always there. And by him playing 4D chess, I would have thought that maybe he would have done a few more tests instead of just said, cool, the monkey made it out, let's go. And then he kind of just immediately rushed to do it himself. I'm not really sure what the motive is behind him doing the outside of, hey, it can teleport people. That was Tesla's dream, right? So
Hmm.
this is a scientific fantasy that he was actually trying to make happen. Tells those old as time, Tesla did it. Tesla was killed for it, right? So this is just an idea of I'm going to try to do it again. This is just like these scientists have a hard on for this for these types of things, respectfully so. That'd be an amazing thing to be able to invent something like that and be able to succeed. I think we're there, to be honest. We just don't know it.
Right.
Um, but yeah, like his rushing into this and is what made it even more riskier than the natural risks that science would have.
Yeah.
Period. So
Very good point. A very good point in regards to Tesla being saying I could be the one to crack this noodle, to do the impossible, to make magic flesh. And I would like to point out that during this experiment, the major miscalculation, he got shit faced drunk. He was drunk when he did it, and
hmm
because he was still pissed because Gina Davis's character got in his head and mixed him up. You know what I
hmm
mean? He was upset about that. What did he say? Boys, I would never ask you to do what I wouldn't ask of myself. And that's when he jumped into the transporter pod because he felt like he cracked the code. Because he exploded like three monkeys and he had one left. That was his buddy. He said, you know what? I'm not going to have you do it. I'll do it. Forget it. It's got to be right.
Baboons.
Baboons, yeah. And I think his anger, his hubris, like you mentioned, Toots, him being 1,000% playing 4D chess, right, on top of inebriation, cost him his life. And that terrible miscalculation of not checking checking your software, because if he had certain if you have certain fail safes in set, the system would have never fired because it would have found the foreign contaminant to quote um to quote Wally, foreign contaminant. You know what I'm saying? It would have said no, there's something else in here, but it goes back to him mentioning the computer. A computer only does what you tell it to do. It doesn't know how to do anything else. So it put the computer in a position where it had to be creative. And that's the worst thing you want a computer to do is
Yeah,
be
you really don't
creative.
want that.
And then it's just saying, we're just going to merge both of you genetically because we don't know what to do with the spare data. So we're going to merge the data. 1 + 1, right? 1 + 1, 1 + 1 equals 1. And that's kind of like the biggest folly is that it was shoddy programming. It's like a Windows update. Speaking of Windows update,
Yep.
shout out to Windows because without Windows, we wouldn't have this beautiful layout. You know what I mean? Kind of destroying our previous setup. So shout out to Windows, just making us evolve. So, but that's a little inside baseball for those MOTN masters out there. All right. Next, I want to talk about the loss of self, the loss of identity that these characters of The Fly go through. And this is a scene of not Brundle, but the original Fly, kind of still being human, but not showing that grotesquerie, not showing his transformation to his wife, who's just trying to understand what's going on. So I want to ask the team, what's scarier? Is it being a monster or is it becoming the monster? What do you think,
I would
Wash?
say it's becoming the monster.
There you go. There you go, Toots. You think it's
For sure, it's becoming the monster. And I think the difference between the original and this one is that in the original it was instantaneous. He changed in the blink of an eye, which is horrific and devastating, but it's not something that you see. There's a lot of um, metaphoric symbolism in this 1986 version where the Brundlefly, where Seth Brundle is gradually changing into the Brundlefly, and people, a lot of people have equated that to him just becoming terminally ill and
yeah.
changing. Um, I was watching something recently as I once realized we were going to study this, and somebody had mentioned something called Kafka's metamorphosis, which is basically a theory about a fellow who basically like Seth Brundle completely saturates himself in his work to the point where he disappears from his family because he's so involved. He ends up getting sick. Nobody notices, and then when they do notice, it's so bad, they just kind of find him inconvenient and they just want him to
Go
be
away.
exterminated,
Yeah, go away.
basically like an insect. So it was very very similar, and that it's kind of heartbreaking to think about it that way. This isn't just science that went awry. This is somebody's life that changed with a like absolutely disgustingly terminally illness, whatever it is. And he doesn't figure it out for a while, which is interesting for a scientist. He doesn't figure out what's going on for a while.
Yeah.
He starts getting all these superpowers, and he's like, "Look what I can do now!" And wow, I feel energetic. I haven't felt this way in forever. And then all of a sudden, he starts throwing up like white shit.
Yeah.
He's like, "Uh oh,
Uh-oh.
I better get this checked out." And then once he actually starts to realize it, I don't know if it's his ego getting in the way, cognitive dissonance, who knows? But once he figures it out, he already figures it out that it's too late. And I feel like he already knows that he can't reverse it. I
Yeah.
don't think he even tries very much. Now, mind you, I didn't watch it. I haven't seen it in many years actually. Um, so I don't remember so much how much he actually tries his best to reverse it. I don't think he does though. I think he accepts his fate pretty quickly. And he just wants, I think when once he accepts it is when he decides, well, I gotta try to get help somewhere. He asks Ronnie for help. What is she gonna do?
Oh,
You know?
no. I do have to tell you, for the remake, he kind of loses his mind as he becomes more fly than man and decides that he needs to go into the pod with someone else to purge his cells and to
Oh yeah,
pass on
yeah,
the fly. And then he goes crazier and says, "No, Ronnie, I want to merge with you and the baby, and we're going to become a super
yeah.
creature." And that's when Ronnie's like, "Nah, I'm kind of straight on that." And then, and then
That's when she decides they need to break up.
and that's when she decides things aren't working out. But yeah, it's the loss of self, and like you say, great call out in regards to the theory of Kafka and losing yourself to something to the point where you become unrecognizable, and then you look in the mirror one day and you're not the same person, and people don't want to be bothered with you because you're completely different, detrimental even to not just yourself but those around you. What are your thoughts on this, Wash?
I would say that I'd agree. To become the monster is probably a tad bit worse, especially when you were not a monster to begin with, thus throwing you into a new series of experiences and uncertainties. I did not call you Siri. Um,
Close enough.
Close enough, apparently. So yeah, so that is a thing that I would absolutely agree with. But there's something to be said. How much of him was man
At the end.
after the initial like uh, transfiguration happened, or whatever the case, whatever word we want to use, the mutation happened. Is Brundle is still Brundle, but is Brundle man or is Brundle fly? And all because you're man on outside, does that mean you can be fly inside? So when you talk about to become the monster, it's like, yeah, dude, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, what did he say? He said, "I used to dream that I was a man becoming a fly, but now I'm starting to realize that I've always been a fly, and I dreamt of being a man, but now the dream is over." That's what he told her before he said, "Never see me again because I'll hurt you if you stay. Flies have no politics. I will, I'm starting to lose my humanity, and I can feel myself slipping." And that's a scary thing to say to someone you love. Like, I don't know what I will do to you because the fly is taking over, because this, like Toots mentioned, this illness is taking over. It almost reminds me of Resident Evil 2. You know what I mean? Kind of like his wife, who was dying of that illness, started getting nasty to him and changing and starting.
Silent Hill 2.
Silent Hill. Did I say Resident Evil 2?
Yeah, you said
I'm
Resident Evil 2. I'm
I'm
like, this isn't making sense to me right
I'm
now, but
not.
all right,
I'm no
got you.
longer a master of the nerdiverse. Silent Hill 2. Thank you. Sorry about that. Where his wife started getting ill and she started changing on him, kind of like, and it wasn't her fault, wasn't his fault, just something that was happening. And now he got to the point where he literally wanted to kill her. And I think in Ronnie's case, that wasn't the case until his humanity was completely gone. Until he was full fly, end of the movie, barfing on homeboy's leg. Up until that, she sympathized with him, even when he was all butt naked and flyish. You know what I'm saying? When he was still trying to talk to her.
But I'd like to say that the Fly too, when you're talking about to become the monster, like Seth or Martin
Martin, let's
Brundle,
talk fly too. I'm so hyped. Let's go.
Fly
Oh,
too, like Martin is born the Fly. He's born the monster. He doesn't, he becomes a monster, yes, but he's actually born as such. So, in this instance, when we're talking about that initial experiment with the fly, it it changed things on a cellular level so
Yeah.
much that, like, the kid didn't have to go through. He just inherited the
He
fly's
just hit
genes.
puberty and kind of like an
Right.
X-Man that started changing into the Fly. He cocooned.
Fly 2 is dope, by
I
the way.
love the Fly
Low
too.
key.
Yeah, it's and we're gonna talk about. Is that the next slide? I don't know. Let's see. Yes, a legacy in horror. Great segue there, Wash. I like talking
Yeah.
about Seth Brundle, talking about Martin Brundle. In the events of Fly 2, you mentioned what's the name of the evil corporation in that one? You just said it. Bartok Industry or
Bartek,
something like.
Bartek,
Yeah,
Bartek Industries.
yeah, where Martin was raised as a lab rat, and he inherited two things: was his father's mind. In fact, he was smarter than his father. But the
Mhm.
problem was that because he had the genetic, I would say, gift of Brundle, he aged faster. So he's a teenager here, but in the film he's like 5 years old or something like that, right? He's like 5 or
Yes,
4, so he's stunted.
yes.
Um, and he's trying to cure himself, and this is where you have the there's no excuse of miscalculation because he's right on the money, and he's inside a sterile, facility, almost like a Resident Evil type situation. Going back to my miscalculation, nice. Um, and you kind of walk with him falling in love. His new girlfriend, who's played by Princess Vespa in Spaceballs. Shout out Spaceballs. She plays his girlfriend, and just watching him change. And one of my favorite scenes is where he's on the couch all jacked up and he rips his eye out, and he's like, "I can see better," and she's like, "Ugh." But she's gonna stand beside him because she loves him, right? But he literally just ripped off a noctating lens off his eye, and now you can see in ultravision. So I love this legacy of horror. The only thing missing is the original 1956. So I would like to ask everyone, what are your thoughts on kind of them making the same mistake? Not necessarily. It's not even them making the same mistake. Brundle was the catalyst, and Martin kind of had just to live with it. What are your thoughts on like having to inherit the sins of the father? I guess is a better question. What you guys
Uh,
think?
all right.
What you guys
Well,
think?
what I'm gonna say in regards to this issue is specifically the company Bartek. I'm getting it confused with another movie at this stage or another name, but they're the ones who were like, you know what? We're going to watch Martin grow up and we're going to take full advantage of whatever
Whatever
situation is going to
happens.
come out of this. We're just going to sit back and watch, but we are 100% full on in. So, yes, Martin's advanced, gifted brain was helpful, but again, he's emotionally stunted at like 5, which he really was in essence kind of emotionally stunted at 5. So there isn't a lot of control that he had to deal with this. I mean, he did go in and start wrecking some shop. Don't get me
Oh
wrong.
yeah.
He did get angry. But and he did find a way to cure himself. Spoiler. But at the end of the day, the company becomes the catalyst for this. And as I was thinking about this, the Jurassic Park thing just kept popping into my head because it's like, everybody just playing with their genetics. But in this one instance, there was no necessarily good reason for it. Well, they wanted defense technology,
Yeah,
but how
super
do you go
soldiers or
from
something like that, right?
like defense technology to human lab fly like growing up? You know what I mean? It's a leap. It's a large leap. And so the company's kind of shady. In fact, we should really rank all these companies in terms of just
That's a top
awfulness.
10. Top 10 evil
'Cause, I
corporations.
mean, these things are
Yeah.
terrible.
But weren't they trying to like master the teleportation devices as well?
Yes, they wanted to use it for military advancements, is just to be able to teleport, group of soldiers, one soldier, 15, whatever, from one place to the next. be a huge advantage, which made sense.
Makes sense. What are your thoughts,
But why
Toots?
do you keep the fly? And
But why do you keep the
you can
fly?
call me dad.
Hey,
You can. uh,
it's a byproduct.
Martin can't teleport me. You know what I mean? He can get the machine to work, but I think by part two in the legacy, it kind of lost itself a little bit, which is kind of a shame that there was never a follow up. Because when you
Why?
talk about
Yeah.
like just horror films that could be picked back up someday, and like this is one that there's nothing. You got two movies, like a documentary and like the original. Yep, there you go.
There you go. What are your thoughts, Toots?
So I read recently that they're going to bring it back to the franchise. I don't know if it's a remake. I don't know if it's part
What?
three,
Okay.
but I read that it is coming back soon, and that was as of 12 weeks ago. I think is when where I saw it, or not when I saw it, but that's like the timeline of when I think that news came out. Don't know for sure, but yeah, I heard that that's in the works, but that's probably in the works with a lot of other things too. So I
Yeah.
don't know what the original question was. What was the original question?
I guess how do you feel about, Martin Brundle in regards to him inheriting the sins of the father and having to fix the problems that his dad caused? You know what I mean?
I'm not really necessarily of the idea that he had to. I don't think he
Mhm.
had to do much of anything. Um, Aside from him wanting to cure himself, I suppose. I didn't see the second one. I've only seen it in clips. So um I didn't see it because it felt like it was already pretty much the first one. You're gonna do the same exact thing. And then the story of the military defense is a tale as old as time itself. Everybody uses that as a scapegoat. So I don't know. Plot wasn't there for me. Same story. It's cool that he cured himself. That's neat. Um, yeah, I mean, as far as I don't know, was he a scientist too? Did he go into
Yeah.
science the way his dad did, or
Yeah,
was
he
he
was like
just
he was like
it's
applied
just
I
a
mean, he
he
was
science.
was genius?
five.
So
He was like applied science. Yeah, he was doing like some Tony Stark stuff.
like nepotistic science,
Nepotistic science.
like genetics, like I don't know, but okay.
He inherited the
Yeah,
science.
I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily call it like stubborn. I wouldn't call it curiosity. I would call it maybe bored, maybe needing to follow in the footsteps of somebody you never met before. And
Just
uh, maybe maybe it was truly just an answer. Was he suffering? Was he just advancing? Was he um, 11 in Stranger Things?
right.
So what would you guys say his initial motivation would have been to actually try to replicate what his dad was doing?
It's you make a lot of good points. It's like, was he trying to live up to his father that he'd never know, would never know? There's a little bit of that in Martin. You know what I mean? He has a rebellious side, like Wash was saying. He was wrecking shop even before he started transforming, because he had enhanced abilities, right? Wasn't he have like super strength and super
From the get
speed
go.
from the get
Yeah,
go? So,
yeah.
and I think he was trying to complete his dad's work at the end of the day, but like Wash said, Bartok Industries had other plans. You know?
Well, he was kind of manipulated into completing his
Yes.
dad's work. It's not
Hmm.
like he was given an option. They pretty much showed him footage of what his dad did and created, and was like, "Yeah, finish this." And he's like, "All
Okay.
right, y'all seem nice.
You
Let's
guys
do
feed
it."
me, dog. You know?
Right.
You
I'm
guys, I'm
five. What do I
five.
know?
I'm
Like,
five. I,
it's a cool place.
there's
So
toys,
yeah,
dog. I could do stuff.
you know, that's my opinion on it.
Interesting. Very good. I would like to talk about fear of the unknown. And Stoots, shout out to Stoots for getting us these great images for this episode and just this clean shot of Ronnie, kind of like, what the hell am I even looking at? And just to circle back around to the just design of the teleportation pods is iconic. I love that almost HR Giger kind of almost like bio armor is the word I'm thinking about when it comes to the design of the pods. I've never seen anything like it. and it
I
just,
mean,
you know,
they ship from Alien, right? That's what I've always like related to it. They were like the same kind of design.
yeah, it would look like a xenomorph egg in a weird way, right? Like, and like it was always smoky, and every time something went into it, something weird happened. Like when he put like when he put the craziest scene, and like Toots mentioned the scene where he puts the baboon in, and it's smoky, and it's bright, and all you see is a bloody stub start slapping the window. And you're like, what the fuck? And they look inside, and it's turned inside out. And I just like, well, that didn't work. You know what I mean? Like, why would you put your body in that? You know, fear of the unknown. Why would you do that? Science? Is it just science? Are you that into
Science.
science? It's like, no, you never enter that ever. And she saw that. She was there for that experiment. And he did the cute thing where he put the stocking in and, oh, okay, I'm flirting. But no, he put a live, beautiful baboon that loved him inside that thing. That thing came out looking like a Mortal Kombat fatality. And it's like, why would you ever test that on people? And it's like, I think about like the fear of the unknown, our lack of thereof, because Tootie hit it on the nose with him just being so full of himself and being having such hubris to say, I've figured this out 1,000%. There's no way this can go wrong. I'm gonna do it. Now he didn't turn inside out, but honestly, I would have preferred that to the fate he had. Do you like the fear of the unknown in science fiction or in horror or in any kind of media? Is that the fear of the unknown bother you? Is it annoying to you? It's like, oh, why would you do that? Does it take you out of the movie? I guess is my question. Or the property? Like just ignoring that.
Judy, go
I
on.
think it makes it that much more terrifying.
Yeah.
I think, well, just be it in a movie or in real life, the fear of the unknown and science is very much part of the fear of the unknown, and especially um, the study of the ocean, oceanography, whatever. Like I
Yeah.
can imagine being a deep diver or some like those scientists, like those guys live with fear. Scientists that deal with
Hell yeah.
uh, viruses and stuff like that. One slip of the hand and it falls on the floor, and like there's all kinds of freaking out happening. Granted they're protected, but it's literally the fear of the unknown. You'll never know what can happen. You could take that into any aspect, any profession, to be honest. Um, but yeah, I think it works well. And Cronenberg does an amazing
The
job at the fear of the
master
unknown
of it.
and everything he does, to the point where, like, yeah, you cannot leave, or you cannot watch a Cronenberg movie and not continue to think about it the rest of the day. Visually they're insane. The storylines are disturbing. The dialogues equally is dry and just like it's a build up to something, something, a hard turn. It's yeah, it's upsetting.
It's
Cronenberg movies are upsetting.
it's upsetting.
Yeah.
It's what's even the fear of what's happening to me. You know what I mean? Like the fear of illness, the fear of I don't understand why I feel this way. I think everyone can relate to that, especially
Yeah.
as we get older. It's like I don't
Right.
understand what's happening to me. I don't understand what's happening to you or her and it's that fear of the unknown. Like I don't know how to deal with this. That just gets right under your skin. And like you said, Cronenberg is the master of of disgust, to quote the great
Right.
Guillermo del Toro. With viscera and liquids, we just don't know. And it's like the fear of the unknown hits Brundle on many fronts, especially when he starts to get acne and he starts to stick to walls. And it's fun until it's not. Like you mentioned, it's fun until it's not. And then
Right.
you're like laid up and you're dying, but you're not dying. You're getting stronger. You're just changing. I don't know what's gonna happen. It's just such a ugly feeling. What are your thoughts on that, B. Rye?
Uh, I, I could go into this whole thing, but I'm not. I'm just gonna say that it's necessary to both the media experience as well as the human experience. So, um, yeah, I'll leave it at that. That's my two
Hey,
cents on it. It's a
so hey,
necessary element.
growth is not always fun. Growth can be scary. Growth
Correct.
growth
In
can
fact, it
be
probably should be.
shit. No, don't get. You're getting too
Very
deep now, dog.
uncomfortable.
You know, you're getting
I
too deep,
told you,
dog.
you're the one
Hey,
firing off the questions. You know what's
hey,
gonna happen. Yoda's gonna come out.
hey.
Stop it.
They call it's not it's growing pains for a reason, right? Oh, Jesus. Importance to the lore. Let's get to the nitty gritty. Here's a picture of The Fly 2. We talked about it a lot. I think it's an underrated film. If you haven't seen The Fly 2, it's not Schindler's List, man. It's not cinema. But if you want to really just have a night where you're watching the Fly movies, it's cinema. You have to.
I think it's quality. I
I
think
love
it's
it.
a solid movie that there will be a couple of parts where you kind of roll your eyes and you're like, that's goofy. But as an overall experience, I think that it will provide more entertainment than a random Netflix movie.
You're not wrong. They don't make them like this. Like, and it's just I love the look of the teleportation pods. I would have one in. Always, I wanted one in my house. Like I'm that
Oh yeah.
guy. I would want one like in my game room, or like my quote unquote man cave or whatever, because they're just so
In fact,
interesting to look at.
when you say teleportation, like pod or teleportation, this is what comes to mind. Star
Ah,
Trek is not the first thing that
ooh,
pops to mind.
hot take.
Yeah.
This pops to mind every single time. When you talk about, oh, was there going to be teleportation one day? I imagine in my head these black pods like all over the country, like phone booths. You know what I
Ooh,
mean?
good shout
For
out.
those of us who remember phone booths.
Do you feel? And it's kind of a loaded question because I know how I feel about it. But do you feel that can there be a Fly series without these pods? How important are they to the lore?
This is the question, right?
This is the question. Can the fly? Can you eat the moon if it was made of ribs? Um, is how important are? Can there be a fly movie? Can there be any other means or any other method that he can turn into a fly, where these pods are crucial to the crux of the plot of the world, for that
No, it would
matter?
just be another machine. No.
No, like that's all I feel. I
If
feel like
it
it's a
if
no
it wouldn't be
brainer.
if it wasn't the telepods, it would be another machine.
But
All he really needed to do was put a screen door on it. Would have been fine. But yes, the
you're not wrong.
telepods are important.
You're not fucking. Just put like a bug zapper in front of that bitch. Just put like what I'm saying.
The magnet ones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Come on, dude.
Work
Well, I
smart.
imagine it's the what if dude, like putting a little like screen in front of it, and then the
Yeah.
entire universe changing, like and there's pods everywhere, like
Yeah.
people are like
Utopia.
dancing on rainbows and shit, and it's like just a snap of
Little snap,
one
yeah.
screen door.
Get it together,
What did you
Brundle.
change? I just hung a fly swatter on the inside.
I put one of those
That's
little
it.
fly stickies on the outside of it,
Yeah,
and we're in
that's
Utopia. We
fine.
figured it out. I'm a
That's great.
quintillionaire now.
Yeah,
You know,
that's it.
I own
That's
Earth now. No, man. Like, I mean, it's the story. It's the MacGuffin, right? It's the crux of everything. Toots is absolutely 100%. They just needed to get to fly, and this is the way to get to fly, right? It's the story's not about the pods themselves. It's about the transformation of man to beast, man to monster. But I think it's a brilliant way to get from point A to point B is to have this be a mad scientist, maybe from the 50s, maybe from Brundle. And these pods are kind of the doorway. You go into that door, you're coming out something completely different. You know what I mean? I think that's just the horrors of science, the horrors of change, the horrors of growing. I think there's a lot of metaphor that it's important that these pods represent to where they would not the story would not be the same without them. That's just my stance on it. What do you guys think about that?
I'd agree with you in the fact that if it was a fly biting Brundle and he turned into Brundlefly, probably not as interesting.
Right.
If he were to have been in a car accident and was accidentally like injected with some sort of fly serum, probably wouldn't have made as
Some kind
much.
of curse or something,
sense. Yeah, like it wouldn't have.
wouldn't have
It
been as
probably
good.
just wouldn't have hit as well as, oh shit, he let a fly in there with him, which brings you back to like your earlier question, like the, the mistake, the oversight, and that is the horror movie. That is the
Yeah.
moment. Is, oh shit, is there a fly in there with him? Oh, nothing good's gonna come out of that. Not, oh, well, the nurse injected him with the wrong bag and now he's a fly.
Oops.
So,
Oops, all
pretty important to
fly.
me.
Yeah. What's your thoughts, Toots?
I already said mine, but yes, yes, it's important for
Okay,
sure.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Very
you did.
important.
You've said your piece. Okay. Let's do it. And now with the last gross image of Brundle with like a bag of chips on the floor. You notice he has a bag of like oatmeal cookies on the floor. That's and he wonders why he had fly problems. He has crap everywhere. Get it together, dog. You're a fucking scientist. Where are we scoring
That's
this bad boy?
realism
Jeez.
right there,
That's
man.
realism.
That's realism in
That's
movies.
some oatmeal. That's some oatmeal creams right there. Flies and shit. Get it together, bro. From a 0 to 5 score, where is everybody sitting with the teleportation pod?
As importance to lore,
As a
or
lower power
importance to
ranking.
lore, like, mm, you
So,
answer first.
okay, I'll answer first. I'll do it.
Yeah.
I think this is up there. I think, like you mentioned, that the horror of the situation is the mistake, is the miscalculation, and that can't happen without the teleportation pods. So I would give it nice, short, sweet answer. I would give it a 4 out of 5. I think the story doesn't happen without them. I think it's less it stops being science fiction without them. It goes into horror if he just woke up one day and was a fly, bit by a radioactive fly, cursed by some kind of magician to become a
About
fly. It's all less interesting than a scientist making a grave mistake. You know what I mean? And it adds a lot of weight to the metaphor, which is science gone wrong. So
I was bit by a spider. What, you don't become a spider now, or no?
nah, I just get
You get to
sexy.
just wear your suit?
I just get
Uh,
sexy and get super buff.
like I get abs,
Yeah,
bro.
I get
Sorry.
abs, bro. I don't know about you, bro. Sucks for you, bro. I get precognition and abs. You
Yeah.
get L
I,
take.
I can slurp up my food now.
I
This
can
is great.
regurgitate at rapid speeds and melt through iron with my vomit. Cool story,
So,
bro. I'm with Mary Jane. We have all types of
so,
kids. Bug life.
My ear fell off.
My ear fell off. Did you notice that like you could see his penis in his little like you could in his little
Oh yeah.
his medicine cabinet of
Oh,
oddities? You can see fly peen in there. Like he's like starting to collect that shit. Nice.
you're so stupid.
I'm just pointing out things because we're never going to talk about this again. You know what I
and
mean?
on
So
that note,
get it all
I'm
out.
gonna.
We're never talking
I'm
about
gonna.
this. Get it all out now.
True. And so I'm going to sum it up, and I will also go a 4 out of 5 because I do believe that there is uh, the half-ass chance that the company randomly stumbles onto something like this. There's another scientist that's sitting in his apartment making teleportation pods. In fact, around this corner, I could have a teleportation pod. You don't know.
I would know.
That's how come I didn't ever let you see what's around the corner.
I don't
So,
want to see.
like, 4 out of 5.
Nice.
Yep,
Now,
I'm right there with you guys. Four out
yeah,
of five
let's go. It's
for
the first
sure.
time we've ever been like
Yep,
we've
first
ever
time
been
ever.
unison.
4 out of 5. And the
Expound.
reason why is pretty much exactly what Brian said. It's because anybody could be doing this. Anybody could make a teleportation pod. It doesn't have to be a telepod. It could be a porta potty. It could be a phone booth. It could be, you know what I mean? It doesn't really matter what the vessel is or what you call it. There definitely has to be a vessel in order for this to happen. And this just happens to be the telepod. So yeah, 4 out of 5, giving the average to be a 4.
Nice. So we're pretty
That was
high up.
easy.
We're pretty up on the fly. We're pretty up on the teleportation pod as an object of lore. That is amazing. I'm very happy because the fly means a lot to me. It just, as I mentioned earlier, it's like one of those cornerstone films that I grew up with as a kid, and it makes me happy that you guys enjoyed it as much as I do. Now, when we do the lore on Rawhide Rex, I hope you guys are just as excited to talk about that cornerstone of horror cinema. Look at them. Look at them, Nerdiverse. They're not co-signing at all.
I
Look at
I
them. Look at
I
them.
I have tuned out, so
You know what?
I don't know what you said, but
You
it's fine. It
guys,
wasn't important.
you guys tune in to this episode and watch this amazing lore for top quality items of lore and not stuff that only Mike
Good
G wants to
Lord.
talk about. Any closing thoughts on The Fly? This is probably the last time we're going to talk about it in this much depth. What are your thoughts on these series in general before we close out?
Well, I mean, if they make a part 3, we may come back because I definitely want to talk about it. But overall, if you have not seen The Fly, you should definitely watch The Fly and The Fly Part 2 and the original Fly, even though, it's 1958. So
Very good.
do what you want with that. But yeah, you should definitely check it out. Definitely worth a watch.
What about you, Toots?
Well, I will say I agree with Brian. Watch all three, even though I didn't watch all three. I didn't watch the third one yet, and I suppose I will. Um, but yeah, they're not for the faint of heart, but they are excellent, excellent movies. Fun fact, really quick: David Cronenberg turned down doing Total Recall in order to make the Fly. Just
I
so you
didn't know
guys
that. Well,
So, can you imagine a David Cronenberg Total Recall? What?
man, that
You know what? I take that. I like not the Total Recall. Like, I'm glad he did The Fly over Total Recall. You know what
Me
I
too.
mean? Like,
Me too. Yeah.
I think I'd prefer to
man,
have The Fly.
the three boob chick would have been
Me too.
crazy, dog. The three boob chick, she would have been out of control, dog. She would have had like
Wow.
tentacles and shit, dog. And the boobs would have had little faces on them that like whispered to you and shit.
Wow.
Cronenberg would have made it wild. Can you imagine Klaatu, as a Cronenberg creature? You'd have been like, open your mind. And you would have done that shit. You know what I'm saying? You would have opened your
Would have
mind.
just been ooze. There would have been way more ooze
It just would have been really
for sure.
wet. The whole movie
Slime for no
just,
reason.
for no
Yeah,
fucking
wet.
reason. Just
Yeah,
wet.
super wet movie.
I got 5 kids to feed. Don't get me started on
Yeah.
Total Recall.
And he's wet. He's wet for no reason.
And he's just soaked in
Slime face.
some kind of
Yeah.
slimy liquid, dog. Some kind of viscerous.
I mean,
I
that
like
may
that guy,
pop
though.
up. It'll leave some because I know I threw it in there for an
Recall.
option. So
Recall
yeah,
may
Recall
be a lore
may
one day.
pop up one day. So
You know,
Oh, that'd be sweet.
shut up.
yeah, like yeah,
Ooh,
Recall.
okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Last thoughts. I can't speak enough about this movie. I agree with you both. I agree with Toots. This is not for the faint of heart. I agree with Wash. I think this is up there for any horror kid. If you're newer into the genre, do yourself a favor. Watch all 3 Flies. You're gonna find something enjoyable about all of them. And though I'm really skeptical of a remake of The Fly or even a sequel, if I would love if Cronenberg's kid directed it, because Cronenberg's kid is really good. Like, I forget the gentleman's name, but I think he did that most recent movie, with Demi Moore that was up for like an Oscar or something like that.
Oh, Substance.
Substance. I think he had something to do with that.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, he's super
Did you see the effects on that movie?
out of control. I need to watch that movie. I've never seen it. I haven't seen it yet.
Me too. I didn't know that was him.
I think that's
cool.
him. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nerdiverse, but if his son did The Fly, I would be hype. I would be like, yeah, let's go. So with that, thank you for watching Lores. Please vote. If you're not voting for these lores, you, the Nerdiverse, chooses what we do. You choose what lores go up. You choose what episodes we do. So please follow us on Instagram. And when the lore votes go up, choose what you want to see. And we like to give like a eclectic grouping. Usually it's something from comics, something from movies, something from video games. So we like to keep things very well mixed. And the arguments we have should be a Patreon exclusive, just us deciding what lores are going to go on the list. I think that would be fun content for you guys, just to help us decide what we're going to choose for you to decide. Please like our content on YouTube. Please like our content on Spotify. Please subscribe to our channels so you can be up to date with the most recent MOTN content. We're doing big things. We're making big collaborations. 2025 is going to be insane. And just a shout out to Toots for being so instrumental in the growth of this channel. I wish I still had my applause button, but I have to insert that into this manual system. But I would give her all the kudos in the world. With that, I've of course been your host, Mike G. We're at an hour mark exactly. I love it. Thank you so much for tuning in. MOTN out.